Alrighty, hello, and welcome back. So, in the previous video, I kind of walked you guys through in a very long and wordy fashion what it looks like when I'm going through and setting up these pitch decks. And it really starts in Microsoft Word and getting my thoughts in order, spell checking, make sure the grammar is correct, and it becomes a lot faster to be able to drop all this stuff within InDesign. So once I've got all that text written out, I'm going to go into InDesign and I'll show you guys, well, in the PDF, the final PDF, what this pitch deck ends up turning into. I'm also going to show you what my design contract looks like. And real quick, I also have an invoice that I write that looks very stripped down. It's not nearly as designed out or colorful as the design contract or the pitch deck. And the invoice, I used to use this as kind of like the design contract, but really the better way to think of that is it's going to billing. It's just something for the company's records, for them to file away for tax purposes and proof that they paid you, and to give that invoice number. And it doesn't have to be as colorful or as pretty. It's not supposed to be, and it'd be kind of odd if it was. So keep that in mind. Keep your invoices really simple and plain and just straight business like. Some things can be boring in the design world. So with this pitch deck, it's got all that information that I covered within the Word document. If you haven't already, go back and watch that previous video. It's really boring just to see a Word document on the screen, but it covers all the stuff that's in here. I want to talk to you guys about how I approach these pitch decks and formatting them. The first thing that I like to do with the pitch decks is try and copy the company's style if I can. If they've got a website, if they've got some kind of media, you are a new artist and a new designer that's coming on to work with these people. So you're creating a variable for yourself if you style the pitch deck in, if you don't have a lot of good art direction at first, into something that's totally left field. That can kind of scare clients from the beginning. So I've tried to keep this pitch deck very clean, not doing too much art direction on it at all, and just trying to find these types of images. So I start off with going image shopping, and trying to find a good collection of images that feel like they work together, that are related to mindfulness, counseling, psychology, and trying to find, we'll see as we go through here, we'll see a lot of pictures that look like this. So my cover page, I've got the company's name, title, and developed by me down at the bottom. Also, one good thing to look into is finding a matching font the best you can with their logo, and then also looking at what their icons look like and trying to match that icon style as much as you can. I think that it shows a good thing that you're adaptable and that you can work within the art direction that they're using. So within this, I'm trying to make this look as clean as I possibly can. I've got my quick little overview for what the project's about, a table of contents, and then every one of the pages is just going through and using, again, this simplified illustration style. And I'm laying out nicely, cleanly. You can see how much white space there is and how much breathing room there is within this presentation. And I think that there really is an art. Almost think of it like telling a really good story to these presentations, and how you're directing the viewer's attention. You're giving them the information in little bits that are digestible without overwhelming them. I've also got a really good hierarchy of information that's going on within these pages. They're very easy to follow. So we've got the core goals for the video, for the 4 videos, and then a description of each one of those. From there, that about the animation process, right? This is so much fun getting to see from that boring document into what the final document ends up kind of looking like. This is an interactive PDF, so I can actually go through and click on any of the links that are within there. I want them to be able to see some of this information that I'm sharing out as we're starting to get this first idea for what this next steps are going to look like. This is a pretty robust pitch deck, but it's a pretty large project as well. So I've got the about the animation process, and just kind of highlighting how important it is to do pre-production and to plan these things out the best you can. I'm really happy with the imagery that I got with the storyboards from Aladdin right at the very beginning, right? Everyone wants to rub the lamp and have their wishes come true, but you got to make sure that you're planning for what you're wishing for. All right, so from there, different ways that the video can be shown. As you can see, this is something I wanted to kind of talk about. When I start building this thing out, I've got my Word document. I go ahead and I start creating my first page, and then I'm going to create my table of contents and my overview. And within these first 3 pages, really, this is when I'm kind of exploring and deciding what kind of rules I want to introduce visually to this document. So we've got full screen images, we've got the underline that's going on, how are you treating the icons, how the breathing space, the size of the text is going to work. And here I'm introducing a couple more rules within this document that I'm going to continue to play on visually as I move through it. So you can see that we're using these rounded corners. Rounded corners are going to be used throughout the document. They're used around the numbers as well. That underline is showing up again, and that's kind of the synergy that's going to help draw all this stuff together. When it comes to just boring square images that don't have any relationship to one another, you can do a really light line kind of pattern like I've done here to help give it a little bit more graphic interest than it would have if you just laid them out over on the side in a really boring manner. So from here, every now and again, it's a good idea within these pages to do a different color, right? So we've gone white background, well, still a white background, but it's got a lot of imagery there, white background. And so now this is sort of changing up the pace, right? So the initial proposed video topics, but it's still working within the image and the visual language system that I've set up previously, right? So this is a different style of page. It's got the all aqua background on it. And then we can see right here, I've already set up that kind of image style under goals. So there's a visual relationship to what it is that I'm creating here. Next up, I've got the early art direction. So this is, this is going to vary from project to project. In this instance, it worked best for me to be able to do sort of a short breakdown of the psychologist recommended videos and the videos that he was drawn to, just to be able to open up the discussion and to be able to talk about each one of these a little bit further and what is working and what differentiates the 3 of the videos that he recommended. And then I'm coming back with 4 different video examples from explainer video websites that I like an awful lot. So that's the Bible Project, Kurtzagat, I hope I'm saying it right, SEMrush, which is this ended up being an advertisement, and then TED Talk Animated. The TED Talk Animateds are really strong. They've got kind of a Saul Bass look to the way that they're animated, and I think that they're pretty timeless. The animation isn't overdone, the narration is really strong, and they still employ a lot of good motion graphics techniques. So if I had to recommend for this video, I would go with something kind of like this. It's also about stoicism. I think he's going to pick this one. All right, so now we've got that big old list of what the next steps in the pipeline look like. This pipeline feels completely overwhelming when you look at it if you're a novice or not new to the motion graphics and production pipeline, but it's really chronicling all the steps. And here at the very bottom, if you make it to 18, it lets you know that these steps can overlap with this little asterisk down at the bottom with the with other videos in production. So we don't just do steps 1 through 18 and start over on new video. We want to get the script, the voiceover kind of hammered out, the storyboard started in a cascading pattern so that the production can be continuously in cycle until we get these done. From here, I've got my page for the time frame. I'm starting to slow things down at the end of this presentation. So there's a big call out down at the bottom, making it very, very crystal clear, 2 months per video, 6 months for the 4 videos. I hope to be able to have this set of 4 3 to 5 minute long videos completed by January 5th. And then finally, we get to the rough part, which, as a designer, you got to get comfortable, I've heard, with talking about money and saying, hey, this is what the cost is going to be. I've had plenty of jobs in the past when I was first getting started where I would bill a rate that would pay for my living expenses while I was doing the production, or sometimes not even. And then I'd get to the end of the production and I'd spent all the money that I got paid on that production already. I'm in the hole, and then I hadn't saved any money to be able to get me to the next production. And it's a really vicious cycle when you start to work that way. So in this instance, I'm asking for of the 4 videos, the payment to be sent in full at the start of each one of the video's production cycles, so that there's a drip coming that continues to pay my bills for the next 4 months. And that's the end of that document. I think it's a pretty cool transition from the Word document into this final thing. It's nice, it's clean, it's not overly written, but it's asking questions and moving the conversation forward. All right. From there, we've got my design contract. So this is done with my branding. And so on my design contract, I've got a couple of interesting things with it here. The project description is intentionally left very small. I've got my pitch deck to really be able to expound upon the project description. So I don't want anyone to get stuck or lost within this section. After that, there's some services in here. All of these services talk about billable hours and what's included for free. So initial consultations. It's kind of highlighting, don't email me at 3 o'clock in the morning. When the check-ins are going to be performed, that's also talked about within the timeline, within that production document. And this is something that I've started to do is, I think it was a smart thing to be able to create a universal design billing contract. These are all the skills that I offer. And within InDesign, I can just switch them off from outline to filled for all the stuff that I'm doing for this particular project. And I think it helps the client understand that you're not just performing motion graphics. There's a lot of other billable things that are going into this project as well, like graphic design and illustration. It's not just motion. I also have to draw this stuff as well. They're not giving me pre-made graphics that they want me to animate, which does happen in some cases. And so it says upfront here, but this is spelled out later on down the line. And then I've also got in big red letters down here at the bottom that there are 2 revision cycles offered at the end of every project. If you do motion graphics right, if you get to the end of the project, you shouldn't have too many questions because you've shown them check-ins along the way, and they should know what's coming. But if you get to the end of the project and suddenly they want major changes done to it, there was a problem with the communication. There was a problem with what you guys were showing them along the way. And after that, it becomes a day rate of $500. So it's expensive to keep me on after those 2 included billing cycles, but I do my very best while I'm working with a client to make sure that they're aware of what kind of product they're getting while it's in production, so that there's no surprises at the end of the production. And it's worked really well for me. Very rarely have I ever had to actually bill the $500 a day, and I think that's a great way to be able to work as a professional designer. I'll flash the invoice here up on the screen right at the very end. So again, it's not pretty. It looks like a back-end kind of office ordering form. And, there's some notes in here. One of the important things that I always like to include within my invoice itself is that the payment should be made 1 month after the invoice is actually issued. At the very latest, I find that the larger the client that you work with, sometimes the slower they can be to bill you. So, professional sporting teams have been some of the worst about this in my career, where billing or filling the invoice, paying the invoice doesn't happen until sometimes 90, 120 days out. And at that point, you've got bills to pay, man. And you did the work, you spent the time. It should not take that long for them to be able to get the money to you. So I hope this was all helpful for you. I hope it's been a fun ride, getting to see the way that this thing starts off within a Word document. Again, trying to work within Alive and Well's own branding. And these 3 documents are what I'm about to send over to the client here in a second. And I think that this is a really, really great way after that initial meeting to show that, hey, you listen to what the client's asking for. You're able to deliver strong design in a short turnaround. And it really sets the tone for what the production cycle is going to look like moving forward. It took me a long time to be able to get here, and I hope that that this was useful for you guys and you're able to implement it in your own pipelines and when you are onboarding new clients. So thank you again. If you want to see more of my stuff, scato.org is the website, and then that's SKATO.org, and then you can find me at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, ArtStation, all the places under SKATO.org, Scato.org. All right, take it easy, guys.